Assalamu alaikum and hi to everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to anyone, any part of the world that you are. So it is a part of their sessions that they are organizing about the organization in Central Asia, Iran, and the part of Afghanistan. There was a gap, and no one was there to how to say it, present from inside Afghanistan any paper or any research about this. Although we don't have any new evidences from Afghanistan, then we have to focus on that. But it is a general review of the previous research which has been conducted in Afghanistan. But to be honest, since 1980s, uh, there's a gap in this research in the research of the prehistory in general, but in later prehistory, which is the Chalcolithic Bronze Age in Afghanistan. Uh, uh, there is no any particular research because all the foreign nations and indigenous archaeologists are all focused on the historical archaeology, mainly Buddhism. But even in the past years, which is the archaeology of Afghanistan is in a very good progress, but unfortunately, there are not too much interest about this period, which is very important about the archaeology and history of Afghanistan. Therefore, I decided to do my PhD on this topic. Uh, so part of this webinars series. So I'm very delighted to present. Yeah, it is an honor for me to present for your great scholars here and some students who are here. Maybe for some of you it would be a repetition of what is going on in Afghanistan, but in general, I'm going to focus on the previous research and the results of those research in order to show the location and the importance of Afghanistan during this period. Because during this period, as we know, that many items were exporting from Afghanistan, such as Lapis Lazuli, and which I'm going to discuss later on, and tin as well. So here, the geographical location of the modern day Afghanistan with these boundaries is very important. Uh, I'm going directly to my what we are going to discuss today. I'll have a brief introduction about this topic and this research, and we will have a brief geographical or physiographical profile of Afghanistan. We'll focus about the previous research on the Bronze Age Chalcolithic cultures in Afghanistan or Chalcolithic Bronze Age cultures in Afghanistan. But I prefer, in the case of Afghanistan, based on my research and studies, I prefer that Bronze Age Chalcolithic, not Chalcolithic Bronze Age. For that, we have a lot of reasons. And so these research in southern Afghanistan, northern Afghanistan, we'll see why central Afghanistan, why there is a gap there, and we'll have a discussion and the problems and prospects which we'll have about this period. So, coming into the introduction part, uh, the region of modern day Afghanistan, uh, owing its favorable location along the Silk Road, served as a crossroad of ancient world, and the presence of an abundant of the resources such as tin, copper, lapis lazuli, and other sources attracted the traders and conquerors alike since the ancient times to come in this region. The region located in the center of four ecological zones spread across the Central and South Asia and has revealed an extreme density of archaeological sites, each with different and distinct culture and artistic characteristics that exhibit the evidence of multi-genus interregional connections in this area. Also, archaeological research since 1950 50s, although it was limited, but have successfully revealed the flourishing of the Bronze Age and Chalcolithic settlements in this region, in the region of Afghanistan. These Bronze Age and Chalcolithic settlements have been characterized by Schaffer in 1978 as belonging to the late prehistoric periods of Afghanistan. Therefore, I selected this terms and for this presentation. Henceforth, there either the later prehistoric periods of Afghanistan or later on we will see the Oktu civilization or Helmand civilization. These are the nomenclatures which we'll discuss about this in the discussion part. Also, the later studies in this region have shown and has established that during this period, raw materials such as lapis lazuli and tin, especially in the case of lapis, even as early as the 7th millennium BC, which we have the evidence from Mehergar in Baluchistan, Pakistan, were exported. So these items were exported from Afghanistan to the area of other great civilization of the ancient world, such as South Asia, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Mediterranean coast, and Greece, even Greece. In this map, you cannot see the Greece, but I have seen in the Museum of Crete that there were some objects from Lapis Lazuli. Also, archaeological uh, evidences from Afghanistan reveals that objects which are datable to this period uh, shared motifs and other cultural traits with the neighboring regions such as Indus Valley civilization, Eastern Iran, Central Asia, and deep inside the mainland India's Chalcolithic age culture beyond the boundaries of the Indus civilization, which is called Ahar culture. Even we have there some BMAC seals impression has been found there. Not only one or two, but hundreds in number. In order to understand the later prehistoric periods of Afghanistan, it is essential to have a look uh, on some general but very significant aspect of the prehistoric periods, as rightly pointed out by Shepherd, that uh, human occupation in the region of Afghanistan in this modern and the region of modern day Afghanistan has a considerable antiquity, and these indigenous hunter and gatherers were constantly undergone socio-economic and socio-cultural change in response to their ecological contingencies. Therefore, these fundamental background of human inhabitation in the region allow us to examine and explain the later prehistoric culture's development as the indigenous process rather than attribute them to the movement of people or groups of people or tribes from the areas in the west to Afghanistan. For this reason, it is better to have a look on the brief geographical feature of Afghanistan or physiographic profile of Afghanistan. It is a landlocked country. The mountainous region covers somehow 2/3 of the country. Here you can see. The geographical formation of Afghanistan is very diverse. And in spite of the ventures of some of the environmentalists, it seems clear that there has been little or no geographic change in these geographic factors of Afghanistan over the past 7,000 years. Uh, the Hindu Kush Mountain divides Afghanistan into three distinct geographic regions, which is the central highlands, the northern plains, and also the southern plateaus. Also, there are the major rivers in Afghanistan is Amu Darya Oxus River, which flows across the northern parts of the country and forms the frontier between uh, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. The other river is the Helmand River. These two rivers are very important, and therefore some scholars suggested, which we'll discuss later on, about the nomenclature of this period. This river, which flows towards the southern part of Afghanistan and empties into the seasonal lake in Sistan. The other major river is the Harirot River, which flows westward to the south of the Herat after irrigating the fertile lands. Uh, Here you can see it, the fertile lands of the Herat region. turns north and forms the border between Afghanistan, Iran, and then cross into Turkmenistan. Uh, the other major river is the Kabul River, uh, which flows eastward to join the Indus River in its final stage. Uh, One more important aspect about the region of Afghanistan, which the geographic feature and the environmental aspects plays a very significant role, is that uh, in modern Afghanistan, the diversity methods of the subsistence strategy practices, which includes nomadism, hunting and gathering, and satellite agriculture. So due to its strong relief, different environment can be found relatively close to each other. This feature would have been particularly helpful to prehistoric population with their limited technology and small sized groups. Uh, it must have been also important at the times of the climate condition, since the prehistoric population could always move from one area with deteriorating climate condition to more favorable ones without the need of to move very far. This variety of habitats and is a feature that likely to have encouraged traders and exchange within the country. Even we can see it today that these nomads, seasonal nomads, which we call them kochi, they are traveling across Afghanistan. Uh, in summer, they are moving towards the highlands, but in winter time, they are going to the southern part. So definitely these types of movements were in practice even during the prehistoric times as well. Even the agriculture in today's community is very traditionally, although the machine and these new technologies has came there, but still. So here I'm the flowing land here, and here after the harvesting the wheat. And here is we can see these the Kuchis or tribals which are moving towards Panjshir Valley to be in the near the Lapis Lazuli mine. These people they are going there, and this picture was taken by me in Panjshir Valley, in the area which is bordering the Badakhshan and Panjshir province. So the studies in the late prehistoric of Afghanistan, the artifactual assemblage of the Indus Valley civilization and the Bronze Age cultures in Iran and Central Asia have highlighted certain similarities and also suggested interregional interaction between them. The region of modern-day Afghanistan, which lay along these lines of communication, may have served as a transit zone between the aforesaid focal points of early civilization in the region. These integral factors attracted archaeologists to explore the archaeological potential of the region during the Bronze Age archaeological periods in Afghanistan. Also, archaeological investigation on the Bronze Age archaeological period in Afghanistan resulted in unveiling of the existence of the multiple Bronze Age settlements such as Mundigak, Dehmurasi, Humdi, Said Kala in the south. Also, some sites, one level of the Harimar, which we are going to discuss that one. Tepe, Flul, Dashli, Wasis, Farrukhabad, and Shortughai in the north part of Afghanistan. But these are the sites which have been tested for, which has been excavation has been conducted on these sites. But there are some more than 42 sites in the northern part of Afghanistan which has been recognized to be Bronze Age sites. Even more than 50 across Afghanistan, more than 50 sites has been recognized to be belong to the Bronze Age. The result of these excavations and these research has been published in this book, which I'm giving as a reference. Uh, in the first edition of this book, which was there was only one particular topic and chapter with the name of the Later Protohistoric Periods in Afghanistan, which this publication was in 1978. But the second edition of this book, which came in 2019, there are two chapters. One, the development of under the title of development of the Oxus civilization in north of the Hindu Kush, which covers all the sites in the northern part of Afghanistan, this Bhima and other cultures which they have connection with each other. And also the other part where this book is the development of the Helmand civilization south of Afghanistan, which I already divided the research in Afghanistan for the north and for the south. But here also we have good names and nomenclatures for these cultures, which has been very deep in detail. They have discussed this issue, and also they included the research and results of the Shortughai, which was excavated after this publication in 1980s. So coming to the sites, bronze sites in the southern part of Afghanistan, which are datable in this period, but it is the date is a little like earlier than the north part of Afghanistan, because in the north part of Afghanistan, as you will see, there is a gap between the translation of the Neolithic to the Chalcolithic and also Bronze Age. At present, our knowledge from the area of south of Afghanistan comes from some excavated sites such as Mundigak, Dehmurasi, Hundia, and Site Kala, which I have circled here. Dehmurasi, Hundia, and Site Kala, and Mundigak here. These excavations here, although limited, but the artifactual assembly recovered from the excavation is sufficient to indicate that southern Afghanistan is an important area for the understanding of the emergence of stratified societies or urban centers, and for comprehending the cultural process which affected neighboring areas. The three sites provide information for understanding the cultural process linking the area of Balochistan and Indus Valley to former Soviet Central Asia and Eastern Iran. So these are very famous and important sites. Here is we are going to have a brief introduction of the Mundigak, the site of Mundigak. So this site is situated some 55 kilometers to the northwest of the modern city of Kandahar. The site comprises a series of moons, as we see here, which was named by the excavator. So the site was excavated excavated and subjected to field work from 1951 to 1958 by James Castle of Daffa and his team. So the Bronze Age Chalcolithic level at the site have been divided into 5 periods chronologically. These periods represent a time span approximately 3,000 years, from the beginning of the fourth to sometime in the second millennium BC. During this time span, Mundigak developed from a small agricultural village to in the period from period 1 to period 3 to a major urban center, which is the period 4 to 5, and was subsequently abandoned during the Iron Age. So we can see the development of a village to a stratified society and urban center here. As we see here, the dates which was suggested for period 1, period 2, 3 to 4, and 5 by James Castle. Although there are some discussion about these dates a little for each period, because each period contains other sub periods, which are period 1 to 3, period 2, 1 to 5, like this, the levels according to the levels. So we're not going to discuss these issues, but coming to the here are some samples of pottery which has been found at the site. Some of these pottery which are housed at the National Museum of Afghanistan and some in the Guimet Museum in France. So here is an aerial photo of the site of the castle Even nowadays, I search in the Google map, the site is somehow like this. And even I'm trying to georeference the map of the site with the current condition as the security situation. I cannot go there to see the site from near and to restage or remap the site. But from the aerial view, we can see the site, and I'm trying to relocate the site. So these studies needs a lot of time and efforts. So coming to other two sites, which are very small in size, site Kalatape, which is located in southwest of Mundigab near the city of like Kandahar, which is not comparable with the site in size and in terms of also cultural material with Mundigak, but the site was first excavated by Perseus in 1952. However, the major excavation was conducted by Schaeffer almost 20 years after the first excavation in 1971 to 72. Based on the 14C dates, uh, or C14 dates, and cultural materials recovered from the site, three periods of occupation or has been identified, period 1 to period 3, which are essential, similar to those of Mandigag period 3 to 4, which is the transition period from the village to uh, settlement, urban center. Another site, which is the Emirasi of Amdi, uh, is also located only 60 kilometers southwest of Saitkala, near to each other. It is half of the site of the Saitkala, very small site here. So the excavation at this site was undertaken by Dobre in 1963, which was resulted in the identification of four major occupational periods. Demrasi is later than Saitkala in terms of chronology and represent a Mundigak period 4 type of occupation based on the cultural material which was discovered there. The limited nature of the excavation undertaken here prevented the delineation of any structures, but the major occupation at Demrasi was period 2, which is divided into three phases, uh, period 2A to C. But the only architectural feature of the significance, which was very important according to Dobre, found in the excavation was recorded in period 2A, which is a small 45 to 28 centimeter, this one here. Uh, it was a mud brick structure, trapezoidal in shape, but with the following artifacts in direct association. It was a ceramic female figurine. Uh, Here's the line here. Uh, a copper tube and seal, and goat bones and horn, and also pottery. The excavator interpreted this as this structure as a household shrine. So, which is very important. But hopefully, in the future, if we will, yeah, here, in the future, if we will excavate the rest of the site, we might get some other evidences because this was like a test range here, but they found this structure, which was very important. These are the information which we have from south of Afghanistan excavated sites, although there are some other sites which we are not going to focus on this due to the time limitation, but we are moving now from the south to the north part of Afghanistan. Our information from the sites in northern Afghanistan comes from the series of sites such as the Chalcolithic and Bronze Age level at Gharimar and Tapeflul, what is here, and Dashliwasis, Farukabad, and Shortughai. For better understanding the nature of the Bronze Age in this area, a brief introduction of the sites is uh, worthy to mention about them. Uh, why I'm referring to this, to the chalcolithic level of the Guatemala, because it's very important. Although the dates which has came from this side, it shows a gap, but we can take the origin of the Gharimar or a snake cave, which in Farsi, Gharimar means snake cave, or Akobrakwan, which is a series of settlement rock shelters in the northern part of Afghanistan, in Balkh province. These are rock shelters, has been identified by Dobre. Excavation was conducted also by him in four localities between the 1962 to 1965 as a part of his Paleolithic research, it was designated as Koprok 1, although the name of the site is Haremar. But during the course of the excavation, besides the other occupational phases, Paleolithic and Neolithic at this site, the excavator identified a chalcolithic Bronze Age level with the presence of copper, but not bronze, However, the chemical analysis of these, the scientific analysis of these metal artifacts by Kelly in 1972 clearly indicated that it has a low tin Bronze Age composition. These items at the beginning it was identified as a bronze, but later as a copper, but later it was contained low tin bronze. 14C or C14 dates obtained from these levels gave us a date of the 5487 and 5291 BC. This appears to be the earliest date for the use of metal artifacts in the northern part of Afghanistan. Although there is a gap of this much time that when we see the stratified societies or the settled agriculture, such as Dashli and also Shortughai, but we see that in the future we can fill this gap as we see the earliest evidence of the metal used in these caves. With further studies, we will find, I'm pretty sure that we will find the root of these cultures because it's not a new phenomenon. Okay. The next site, which we are going to discuss about this, it is the Piflun, which is located in the Baghlan province. A hoard of the consisting of the 5 gold and silver and 12 silver vessels were discovered in 1966 by some farmers and subsequently confiscated by the government official in this province. But later on, excavation here revealed the discovery of an inhumation burial. But unfortunately, it was not possible to connect the hoard with the burial, since the latter did not contain any artifact, and thus its chronology is debatable. But further, this assemblage does not appear to be a homogeneous one and suggested different manufacturing techniques involved in this in these items or in these objects. In addition, that their decorative patterns uh, vary from each other, with a few suggestions closer affinities with the site of Turkmenistan and Balochistan, some scholars suggested, and few others with sites in Mesopotamia and Elam. But probably with Mesopotamia and Elam, it is much more like accurate, this decision or this. But based on the similarities, a tentative date of 2600 to 2400 was suggested by scholars such as Tosi and Wardag that we have written a paper on this one. But unfortunately, the farmers who found this one, in order to divide and find their shares, they have unfortunately they have broken into pieces these objects. These two here is part of the uh, Afghanistan hidden treasure exhibition, which was doing the tour of the world. Uh, but unfortunately, these people, when the archaeologists went there, they did not say the reality from where, from which side, from which area they found these objects. Uh, they have shown some part, and when the archaeologists excavated there, they found only a illumination barrier which was not correlated with this with these objects. Coming into the other sites in northern Afghanistan, which are the sites of Dashli Oasis, although we are not going to discuss Farrukhabad and others. So here about the Dashli, we can say that these sites are 10 in number and was excavated by Storyanidi and uh, Koroglekova, if I'm correct to pronounce this. The excavation was part of Afghan-Soviet mission between 1969 to 1974. Uh, Out of these 10 numbers, Dashley 1 and Dashley 3 provided much information. The excavation revealed architectural features such as the rectangular uh, and circular buildings, circular and semicircular towers, as we can see here, and fortification wall made of mud brick. Each settlement was divided with multiple multi-room living rooms and housekeeping quarters, which was separated by a small space and often grouped around an inner courtyard. The artifactual assemblage was found include bronze weapons, jewelry, ceramics comparable with the graveyards of Turkmenistan and also uh, northeastern Iran. A date of late Bronze Age was suggested for these sites. Also, the other finds included lithic compartment seals made of the stone, ceramic, and metal artifacts, as well as stone beams. But unfortunately, after the Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan, no one conducted any further excavation in this site. And if you go and search in the Google and also to GIS, we can see another very important sites around this area. So my observation was I have noted many sites there. I'm not sure if these sites are part of the localities which was identified as a Bronze Age site settlement. But if we do good research in the future, I'm pretty sure that we will find this type of structure, or at least uh, uh, I'm suggesting here that if anyone wants to know the uh, development of the Oxo civilization in the part of Bactria in the area of northern Afghanistan, we have to continue our research and excavation in these sites because the results of these excavations are insufficient. And also the other problem is which was published in the Russian language, and very few articles are in English and also in Farsi. This is another problem about this. But hopefully in the future, if our colleagues from Central Asia or from other countries, which they are interested in this, and after the peace settlement in Afghanistan, hopefully one day it will come, we will continue our research on these sites, which are very important in terms of size, culture, materials, and uh, other features, which we can see here. Only these materials are available. I mean, these photos and sketches. I'm planning to, although the ceramic assemblage of the sites, which was uh, uh, photographed once again by the Chicago University as a part of the inventory project of the National Museum. But even now, I'm planning part of my PhD to reanalyze and restudy these artifacts, although that was for the purpose of database. But now, with the new techniques and even probably I will do some gene section analysis of the assemblage from the Shortughai in order to solve some problems of the Shortughai. So therefore, this the Bronze Age and later prehistoric of Afghanistan, there are a lot of problems about this to be solved, which we'll discuss in the about this in the discussion part. So coming to the other side, which is very important, It is the site of Shortughai, which we see here, a general plan of the Shortughai. This site is located in the northeastern part of Afghanistan in Tahar province. The discovery of Shortughai was done by J.C. Carden of Dafa and his team in 1975, which was a landmark in the Bronze Age archaeological research in Afghanistan. Later on, it was excavated for four seasons from 1976 to 1979 by H.P. Frankfurt um, and M.H. Portier, if I'm good to pronounce this one, and his team, which the result has been published, the result of their excavation was published in 1998. It is a very small site, like 2.5 hectares in size, with very shallow, not more than 2.5 to 3 meters of cultural deposit, and is divided into two main mounds, Mount A and Mount B, and also Mount B. But from the first publication, which has came after the excavation from the site, it was clear that there was a major Harappan phase or major Harappan settlement there, and which was located far from the plains of the Indus Valley civilization. The discovery of Shortughai was a very profound implication of the any understanding of the scope of Harappan activities outside the geographical boundaries of the greater Indus Valley civilization, as well as its later connection with Central Asian culture. That's why this site is very important in terms of location, culture, materials which was discovered there. At first, according to the excavator, at first only Mount A was partially occupied in period 1, but slowly the settlement expanded, covering the whole two parts of the A and B in period 2 and 3. But in the final period, which is the period 4, at this site shows evidence of Mughalai and Bishkin culture, which we are going to discuss a little bit, like, which is marking the coming of the new peoples and new settlers at the site. But the dates for the period 1 and 2 was suggested like 2300, 2200 to 1800. But the period 3 and 4 from the 1800 BC to 1600 BC was suggested by the excavator. The period 1, which was the time of the first occupation of the site by the earth by its earliest settler, been identified on Mount A, as I mentioned before. It has been uh, identified based on the cultural material as an early mature Indus around 2500 to 2400 BC. But according to the excavator, this first group, they arrived well equipped with their original culture material sets like such as architecture, pottery, arts, crafts, plants, and animals. This is the opinion of the excavator. And they immediately cultivated the lands on the traces near their building. But the C14 date obtained from this period is the end of the third millennium BC. In this period, Harappan's elements identified included the Indocene, which I will have it in the next slide, carnelian beads, and classical Harappan ceramics shapes and jars, uh, like beakers, plates, dish on stands, rusticated ware, and perforated jars. Also, other Harappan black on red here, only one piece. I'm not sure if there are any other pieces, but this one is available in terms of photography, which shows the black on red, the typical Harappan motifs on this on this artifact. That's why I'm planning to do a theme section analysis of the which was already conducted in India and Pakistan, and based on that result, we'll take some samples from this pottery to do the thin section in order to see that the opinion of the excavator is right. These people came very well equipped with their pottery and other things, or they came as a how to say, to settle there, to control the Lapis mine or the trade, or to have any cultural contacts with the neighboring cultures or settlements which was nearby, or or they use the local material in manufacturing of the pottery. The period two of the site, which is similar to period one in terms of artifacts assemblage, but a gradual change could be observed towards the end of this period. Artifact assembly in terms of artifact assembly, this period shows it's a transitional to period three, to period three, which is called the late Major Harappan by Porcher in 1977. He turned like this as a late Major Harappan. But during this period, evidence of the working of lapis stopped and does not appear after period one. However, metallurgy continued. There seems to be an extension in the settlement pattern. In this period, both moons A and B were occupied. Here is the Indocile and of Carnelian beads and raw material of the lapis, which was discovered, and fragment of the crucible from the Shortughai, which indicates the metallurgy, continuation of metallurgy here. But the analysis of the from the period three, the analysis of material culture from this period have proven that difficult due to the lack of a single stratigraphic context there at the site, as the settlement was moved from Mount A to Mount B. This period was defined by the excavator as an intensification of the local elements, and according to Joffre in 1980, uh, he said that this is not a strange phenomenon, as we can see the outsider shifted their ways of life. So this was the, I agree with this opinion of Dubre that these people was, so we were in the opinion of the Dubre that he said that outsiders shifted their ways of life, at least in the economic sphere of the and adapted in the local condition of the environmental condition of this area. Thus, these Harappan colonists, which I'm putting quotation mark, could have had adjusted from a semi-tropical zone, which they have came to from this tropical, semi-tropical climate zone to a semi-arid zone. So that's why there is a change in their way of life. The period four at this site, period four. This is the some. Uh, these are from that's this is from the period three. So this also was found from period three, but these are from period four. Here is a composite of heterogeneous and does not reflect a single culture, but a real occupation horizon, marking the coming of the various people in the site. This final period is recognized as a Malay Bishkin culture. Also, a burial belonging to this culture was dug onto the reign of the already abandoned Indus monk. The final occupation could be dated to 1700, 1500 somehow. Uh, and according to Jopre, once again, the culture at Shortughai seems to have evolved without drastic interpretation, but the apparent abrupt abundance of the site remains a mystery. Also, the absence of a palace, temple, or a citadel posed the problem here at the site, and without such points, any settlement, any statement to do about the social, religious, and political institution would be a premature decision. So he has rightly pointed out this issue. Uh, but this idea is also not good, not acceptable that they were colonists and they came there to how to say to control the Lapis Lazuli's mine. But uh, I mean the raw material which was found at the site is not sufficient to accept this idea of the controlling the Lapis mine. Here, as we see here, here is location of Shortughai, and the Lapis mine is somewhere here. So here the distance which I draw from the major Harappan site to Shortughai. The nearest site is the Rehman Dehri to Shortughai. It is somehow 600 kilometer, and the other sites are more than 1,000 kilometer. But the location and the existence of the distance between the Shortughai and Lapis mine in Saristan in Badakhshan, which is 167 kilometers. Say, for example, Shortughai is here, but the Lapis mine, okay, I cannot draw anything here, but the Lapis mine is somewhere here. I'm suggesting, even recently, I went to the Panjshir Valley for some archaeological exploration. So this valley is very important in terms of archaeological sites, although not any, I think only one time French delegation, they did some survey there at this site, but at this valley, recently we conducted some survey and we identified many sites there. In my opinion, there should be a trade route from the Panjshir Valley, as today when we cross from the Parvan province to the northern part of Afghanistan, if we go, we pass the Salang Highway. But earlier, which this route was not there present, even Alexander the Great, he passed from Panjshir Valley and he went to the Khabak, which is one part of the Panjshir, and it connects Panjshir to Baghlan province, where this Tapefulul, which I have mentioned there. That's why it is not a strange phenomenon that why this hoard has been discovered on that area, because uh, probably when the lapis was extracting, one way was from through Badakhshan to other part of Badakhshan to Takhar province, but the another part was from the southern part to Panjshir Valley and was going to Harapan side. That we will, uh, how to say, it needs a little further investigation to find any evidences there. Hopefully, I will be able to do this one. Uh, Before going to the discussion part, it is worthy to mention and cite the opinion of Cole and Leonid in 2008. They said that people moved into areas already occupied and assimilated with the cultures with which they came into contact, and movements of people or migrations constitute one important mechanism for establishing and maintaining interregional connection. Another primary mechanism, of course, is the exchange or circulation of goods, which can be taken, which can take different forms, including gift exchange, marriage alliance, and tributary demands, market trade, driven by the principles of supply and demands and directed by merchants. So this is an opinion and a statement by Coe and Leonid. So they have rightly pointed up about this movement of people in Central Asia towards Hindu-Kush and other area of the which they had cultural contacts and interregional contacts with each other. Also, it is rightly pointed out by Warwick Ball in his book, in the books of the Monuments of Afghanistan. He says that at the heart of Central Asia, between the great classical civilization of India, Iran, and the Oxus, lay the desert and mountainous range of Afghanistan. Even today, much still lies unexplored. In the past, Afghanistan saw the rise of the city and civilization that compared with the better known ones to the north, west, and east. But also, much of it remains hidden in Afghanistan, where major archaeological discoveries are still being made and are still to be made. Although this statement is like before many years, but still it is suitable in the case of Afghanistan. Coming into the discussion part, what I'm going to discuss that despite the presence of the Bronze Age and Chalcolithic sites in the area of Afghanistan, very little is known of the culture antiquity in the region from the period between the fourth millennium and second millennium. Another thing is that the archaeological investigation on most of sites in the region reveals that methodologies adopted by the archaeologists were inadequate toward generating a comprehensive understanding of the past. Uh, Another problem is that no studies have been conducted to understand the central region of Afghanistan. If you find any site in the region, in the central part of Afghanistan, you will find a lot of uh, unanswered questions about the nature of the interaction from the north to the south. But in the context of Afghanistan, unfortunately, there is no single site like Mehergarh, which has revealed continuous cultural sequence from the early food production societies till the emergence of a stratified society. Also, in addition to the earliest evidence, the use of metal, as we have seen in the case of Arimar, which can be dated to the 6th millennium BC. There is a gap of nearly 2 millennium before we see the emergence of the Chalcolithic and Bronze Age cultures in the region. These shortcomings or these limited excavation also limited our understanding of the cultural significance of this period, along with the issues concerning the origin and development of civilization in Afghanistan. However, a few archaeologists argued that Afghanistan appears to have passed through the similar stages and process of civilization in the case of the Helmand civilization, in the case of Indus and Mesopotamian, uh, and Shortughai in Iran, and suggested a concept such as the Helmand civilization. BMAC was suggested by Suryanidhi in 1971 after his excavation in Balkh and also in northern Afghanistan and southern Turkmenistan, or the Oxus civilization, which was suggested by Frankfurt and his other colleagues. In this context, there is no need to re-examine a Chalcolithic cultures in Afghanistan. There is a need to re-examine the Chalcolithic culture's development in Afghanistan and to find their relation with the contemporary civilization uh, in the neighboring region. In the lights of these aforesaid facts or factors, it may be not wrong to cite Schaffer in 19 Schaffer with his statement in 1978, who states that there are two categories of problems with regards to the Chalcolithic age or Chalcolithic culture or Bronze Age culture in Afghanistan. First, methodological and chronological, and secondly, problem connected with the culture process in Afghanistan. So these are the major problems here, and also the nomenclature of these cultures is really a matter of suggestions and discussion. Uh, as I said in the beginning, that Schaeffer called this period as a later prehistoric periods in Afghanistan. Others they call Bronze Age Chalcolithic or Chalcolithic Bronze Age. Recently, these general terminologies has came like the Hofu civilization for some part of that Asian bacteria and also southern Turkmenistan and these. But uh, another name came from our Iranian colleagues that they suggested about the greater Khorasan culture or civilization. In my opinion, we have to hold an international conference or gathering or a discussion to um, find a solution for nomenclature of this civilization in the northern part of Afghanistan as well as in the southern part of Afghanistan to integrate them into that. Because BMAC, which was suggested by Later Protohistoric, so we are thankful for his excavation and exploration in this area, but this demand cannot encompass the all, how to say, no names and other sites which has been found in Iran, and also the crater Khorasan, which was suggested by our colleagues and some scholars in Iran. It does not encompass the other parts of the northern part of Iran, which is the southern Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, these areas, and other parts. Although this the name itself is a problematic because this name is like Greater Khorasan. It is a medieval name for the some areas in Afghanistan and Iran. Uh, if you are going to talk about the ancient civilization, so this name will not uh, how to say cover that period. So, in my opinion, this octo civilization, which was suggested by Frankfurt and other scholars, so we have to work on about this name if we are going to use this name in Iran, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan for this civilization because this is very famous labor, although it does not follow inside Iran, but Mm. the same thing happens within the case of the Indus Valley civilization. Now they call this Harappan site or Mohenjo-daro. But nowadays, scholars they are suggesting this Indus Valley civilization or Indus Saraswati civilization to cover some sites inside India as well. So if we can do like this, but say for example the Indus river does not follow inside the mainland India or this Saraswati which is now a dried river. So we have evidence of the big settlements like in Gujarat as well, which is very far in the southern part of how to say the boundaries of the Indus. So therefore, which some sites which are out of the river or nearby the river, so we cannot how to say we can include those sites in this big terms and terminologies or nomenclatures, as well as in the case of the southern part of Afghanistan, which has been suggested Helmand civilization. We have to work further on this, and if we identify some sites, uh, some more sites in the southern part of Afghanistan, which I'm pretty sure that we will find in southern part of Iran as well, that you will find the real development, although Mehergar is there, and Mehergar can tell us about the culture, process, and development in this region. But at the same time, these other sites, like Shari Softan, Mundigar, it is very important. And this nomenclature, I personally I agree with the Salman civilization. But if we take the concept of like when we say civilization, we have to have some written, how to say, written sources, not written sources, but how to say, at the moment I forgot about this, but we don't have these kind of evidences, but we see the development of the from a village from this to a stratified society or to urban center. So this is very important in the case of southern Afghanistan, which is very near to the area of Baluchistan and another great part of this. Another some there are some problems in the case of conservative rivers. As I have mentioned at the beginning, that since 1980s, there is no any specific research in the area of the Bronze Age or any site has been not excavated. This is due to the geopolitical tension, which is continuing since many years in the region. But in the last 20 years, we had the opportunity to develop or to continue one of excavation in the already existed site like Mandikak or Shortughai or any of these sites. But I'm not sure why from the inside Afghanistan also someone is interested and from outside as well. But because of their interest, as I mentioned at the beginning, about the pre-Buddhist or Buddhist archaeology of Afghanistan. Another problem is the looting of the archaeological sites, which was not like some of these sites. I don't know why there was even now we don't have any one particular program about the post excavation. Although the archaeology staff of Afghanistan, Ministry of Information and Culture, they're stressing that we have to have a post excavation plan for the management of the site. But earlier, there was not any particular program for the post-excavation or management of the site, as we see some of the sites in northern Afghanistan, either prehistoric site or a Bronze Age site, or either historical sites has been destroyed or looted during the Civil War, or it was destroyed by natural disaster. If we had like a protection for the site, I'm pretty sure that I have not seen the site of Shortughai, but I'm pretty sure that there was not any post-excavation management for the site due to any reason, that the site has gone already due to the natural disaster. And also like lack of conservation about the archaeological sites, which I said. Also, another problem is the published literature in multiple languages. As I have said, that for the northern part of Afghanistan, for the sites of Dashli, most of the publication are in Russian. But in the case of the southern Afghanistan, the site of Mandikat, it is in French. So we have to integrate all these data into although French and Russian is very famous language nowadays, but uh, we have this problem of the publication in multiple languages, and we have to find the solution of the translation, and also the articles which was published inside Afghanistan in Farsi. So we have to translate these to be visible and available for the international scholars. So I'm so sorry that if I made any mistake because I'm not well in my health. I'm really sorry for that. Thank you so much for your attention and patience.